Okay, now I'm gonna go into a book. It's called A Young People's History of the United States by author Howard Zinn. Page 8. We know what happened on the Caribbean island after Columbus came because of Bartholomew de las Casas. He was a young priest who helped the Spanish conquer Cuba. For a while he owned a plantation where Indian slaves worked. But then las Casas gave up his plantation and spoke out against Spanish cruelty. Las Casas made a copy of Columbus's journal, and he also wrote a book called History of the Indies. So we see here that this author, the guy that Howard Zinn, he's telling about Columbus' story. And he's saying that he's telling you about this priest that he helped the Spanish to conquer Cuba, but then he spoke out against the Spanish cruelty. And then it goes on to tell you that he made a copy of Columbus's journal and wrote a book called The History of the Indies. So we're going to get into those things, that book. Now let's read page 11. This is from the author Howard Zinn, the same book, page 11. The story of any country includes fierce conflicts between conquerors and the conquered, masters and slaves, people with power and those without power. Writing history is always a matter of taking sides. For example, I choose to tell the story of the discovery of America from the point of the view of the Arawaks. I will tell the story of the U.S. Constitution from the point of view of the slaves. So Howard Zinn, he's just telling you that, see, you got a lot of history books and it's according to which side you want to tell it from. He's telling the history from the side of the conquered people. But most history books you read tell the side of the conquerors. Just like America. Everything they go out and do or they write about, it makes America sound good. Like this country that's going out there trying to save everybody and help everybody. But then if you talk to somebody of the other country, they say the quite opposite. Just like we saw in the UN with the president of Iran. He was telling a different side of the story. You know what I'm saying? But you watch the news in America, they tell you another side of the story that make America sound good. So the thing is, what I'm saying is that I just want to bring that point out, right? And from there, let's go now to the same author, People's History of the United States, by the author Howard Zinn, page 11. What Columbus did to the Arawaks of the Bahamas, Cortez did to the Aztecs of Mexico, Pizarro to the Incas of Peru, and the English settlers of Virginia and Massachusetts to the Powhatans and the Pequots. So what it's telling you that the same things, that Spanish cruelty that was going on with Columbus and the native Indians, is telling you that the same thing went on in Mexico, with the Incas, with the Native American Indians. It went on with all of them, brothers and sisters, the same thing. Okay, so now we got that out the way. Let's go to a book called The Conquest of America. Page 139. As to the way in which children were treated, some Christians encountered an Indian woman who was carrying in her arms a child at suck. And since the dog they had with them was hungry, they tore the child from the mother's arms and flung it, still living, to the dog, who proceeded to devour it before the mother's eyes. When there were among the prisoners some women who had recently given birth, if the newborn babes happened to cry, they seized them by the legs and hurled them against the rocks, or flung them into the jungle so that they would be certain to die there. So, wow, it's a hard lesson to do, brothers and sisters. So it's saying about the Christians, the conquistadors, the Spanish, whether they were Portuguese or Spaniards, it's saying that, they would take the child from a mother's breast and fling it to dogs so the dogs can eat it right in front of the mother. The mother had no power. And it goes on to say that if babies were crying, if they had recently given birth and the newborn babes happened to cry, they seized them by the legs and hurled them against the rocks or flung them into the jungle, that they were certain to die there. That's the cruelty of these people, brothers and sisters. They took our babies and dashed them against a stone, what it's talking about. What we're going to do, we're going to go and get an account of that. We're going to go into the Bible, into the book of Psalms. Psalms chapter 137. Psalms chapter 137, verse 7. Psalms chapter 137, verse 7. Remember, O Lord, the children of Edom in the day of Jerusalem, who said, raise it, even to the foundation thereof. O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed, happy shall he be that rewarded thee as thou hast served us. Happy shall he be that taketh and dasheth thy little ones against the stones. So we just read that account in the book of the Conquest of America, how they dashed the babies against the stone. Now we're reading the Psalms that saying that remember the children of Edom. And then it goes on to call them in verse 8, O daughter of Babylon. So it's telling you that Jacob and Esau, we are Jacob, the 12th tribe of Israel. Esau is our twin brother. It's telling us to remember, O Lord, the children of Edom, which is our twin brother. Verse 8, O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed, because it tells you that they're going to be destroyed. It says, happy shall he be that rewarded thee as thou hast served us. How did they serve us? Happy shall he be that taketh and dasheth thy little ones against the stones. The Bible is telling you how they served us. It's telling us who Edom is. It's telling us who the daughter of Babylon is, where we are. The daughter of Babylon is telling you who they are. The Spanish, the English, all the white European nations, brothers and sisters. Okay, from there, let's go back to the book, The Conquest, page 139. The Conquest of America, page 139. As to relations with the workers in the mines, each of them, the foreman had made it a practice to sleep with the Indian women who were in his workforce, if they pleased him, whether they were married women or maidens. So it said, whether they were married women or maidens. While the foreman remained in the hut or the cabin with the Indian woman, he sent the husband to dig gold out of the mines. And in the evening, when the wretch returned, not only was he beaten or whipped because he had not brought up enough gold, but further, most often he was bound hand and foot and flung under the bed like a dog before the foreman lay down directly over him with his wife. So now we see another account that they slept with the Native Indians' wife, the Hispanics' wives. And it says it was so cruel about it that they sent them off to work, slept with their wife. When they came home, they bound them like a dog, threw them under the bed, and laid on top of the bed with their wife, had sex with them. That's cruelty, brothers and sisters. But let's go into the Bible and get an account of that. Let's get an account of that out of the scriptures. Let's go Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 30. Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. That's what the scripture says. What we just read in the account of the conquest of America said, thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her, brothers and sisters. This is Bible prophecy. That's the curse that came upon us for breaking God's laws. That's the curses that when we reading them, we go on step by step and reading them. Okay, from there, let's go on now to a book. From there, I want to go to a book called, let's go to the Conquest, actually, I'm sorry. The same book, Conquest of America, page 137. The seventh plague was the building of the great city of Mexico. In the construction, some were crushed by beams, others fell from heights, others were caught beneath buildings which were being torn down in one place to be built up again in another. So we're dealing with the construction of the great city of Mexico. They're building it, right? Let's read on. Especially did this happen when they tore down the principal temples of the devil. Many Indians died there. How to avoid seeing divine intervention in the death inflicted by the stones of the great temple? Montolina adds that not only were the Indians not paid in any form for this labor, but they paid for the building material themselves, or were forced to bring it with them, and they were not fed, since they could not both demolish temples and work in the fields. So we see in here that our native brothers had to build these temples. We're just talking about the temples and buildings and stuff, and they weren't paid for it. And it says, matter of fact, they had to pay for the materials themselves. They were forced to bring it with them, and they were not fed. You know, so let's get an account of that out of the Bible. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 30. Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build an house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Well, that's what we just read. They were building these things. They didn't live in them. They didn't worship in these temples that they were building. The conquistadors, they were building it for them, but they had to pay for it. They wasn't paid for it, and they had to pay for the materials to build them. And that's what we just read here. It says, thou shalt build an house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. See, these curses, we know that they happen to the Negroes, but we read in accounts that they happen also to the native Indians, brothers and sisters, the Hispanics, from South America all the way through. Okay, from there, let's get I want to go to a short account, page 39, another book.